This is just the text block that I just finished sewing up. I haven't pressed it or anything yet, and I'm going to put a hardcover binding on it, or maybe a soft cover, but it'll still be like a fully encased binding on some sort of book board. And I did a lot of coffee and tea staining on these, and ink also. And I want it to be a writing journal. That's an envelope that I scanned in from my grandfather to my mother when she was 3 during World War II. Unfortunately, I misjudged and put that in a place where you can't see both sides of it at the same time, but it's okay. And I made envelopes in the center of each signature where you can put, you know, your own ephemera, your own little notes. Tried to make those super pretty and not as grungy, but still very vintage looking. There's the other side of the envelope, and I put a little picture of my grandparents there, my grandfather in his uniform. Stained, very stained. Just really dimmed out everything. Crumpled it up. Put black charcoal on the edges. Used very vintage looking school paper. Sepia. This needs to be glued a little bit more. I'll go over everything before I gift it. The other side of the crumpled. I really liked the black charcoal look on that floral. More school paper. I had a fun time making dot grid paper in Illustrator. There's a specific technique that you use, and I learned a lot. There's that distressed floral. This was really fun. This is a piece of tissue paper that I kind of decoupaged onto here, and then I just went really crazy with the charcoal and scraping it off, and just made a happy little mess. More grungy looking stuff. This was with ink, and I embellished. I put my own lines on here. And there's the envelope for that signature. Old looking paper. This was a letter that some dear friends of my grandparents, I have a bunch of their letters that they wrote back and forth to each other. So I just shrunk it down and stuck it on here, and I just thought it was interesting that it had Board of Education on the top, even though they weren't part of the Board of Education. But you can read the letter pretty easily. It's not too small. Got that really cool tear in there. I edged everything with the black charcoal and then kind of taped it on with some paper medical tape that I stained. More writing pages. This one was just some collage stuff, scraps that I glued together, and then I just made a mess with some white paint on there. Charcoal. More distressed paper, writing paper. There's my fairy. I like her a lot. She's very kind of mysterious and goth, and she's got some stains all over her, and she's faded, and I rounded the edges on her. And there's the back of that sheet with the stains and spots. And the envelope for the signature needs to be, the glue needs to be worked a little bit. I just glued it, so it's not even really dry yet. Just gotta go back and fix everything. Stains. Love it. Look at, there's a pen mark. I'm gonna have to fix that because that just stands out like a sore thumb. I don't know how that happened. I'm gonna cover that up with something. It's good to go through it like this. charcoal mess. There's the back cover of that signature. Here's some old vintage music paper. I printed and I shrunk it down, stained it with ink, and there's the back of it. Kind of a faded out berry print paper. More dot grid paper that I made. Tore the edge on that one on purpose. Here's the envelope for this signature. And stained and crumpled. More of my grid paper. I don't know why I'm so proud of my dot grid paper. I mean, it just seems basic, but it's actually a bit of a process. There's the other music sheet. And here's some Japanese rice paper that I glued onto some stained. And then I collaged a piece of dot grid on top. And then I just took a pen, an art pen, and just kind of drew around it. Let my imagination flow. And I did that some on the back too with a sepia toned pen. It just looks like kind of like a marbled effect. I thought it looked a little bit like a tree here. Grid paper. Here's another marbly looking die effect, and then it ripped here, which I love, and I just kind of sutured it with decoupage on this tissue paper, pretty tissue paper on top. There's the back of it. I put another piece of tissue paper to kind of suture it. Notebook paper. Here's the envelope for this one. And here is a fussy cut piece of quilting cotton, this cute little bird that I really liked, on top of some more stained paper. And on the back is another one, because I just thought they were super cute. Some school paper. And here is the last page. It's a very stained and crumpled marble effect paper glued onto a piece of rice paper, and there's a little scrap of conventional scrapbook paper. And then on the back, I did a little weird, kind of funky little collage with some washi tape that I had, and a little piece of interesting paper with some geometric lines on it, and then this little scribble. I just had scribbled on a piece of paper, and I just tore it and stuck it on there. All of it was pretty serendipitous and not super planned, and just kind of went as I went. So the next step is getting ready to put it in the binding, put it in the cover.